What's going on, YouTube? So the Lincoln lineup has been fairly quiet for a couple of years, with only small changes to their SUV lineup. But now that is certainly changing with this radically redesigned all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. And we really do mean radical, because you probably won't believe what is on the inside of this thing. But is it enough to take down the benchmark Lexus RX? Let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's start things off under the hood of this new Lincoln Nautilus. So you're gonna have new powertrains, of course. It's gonna be a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine as standard, and then the hybrid model adds to that 2-liter turbocharged engine. That's what we have, and we have a total system power of 310 horsepower. That'll be routed to the ground with standard all-wheel drive and through a CVT transmission, and combined fuel economy will be 30 miles per gallon.
Now, of course, later on in this review, we will be taking it out on a drive, and during that drive, we'll be getting things like our signature sound level reading. Now, after that, we'll also be talking about the pricing of this new Nautilus, as well as 2 new things that we're integrating into our videos: predicted resale value and estimated reliability. So be sure to stay tuned for that.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood, because I'm sure you want to see this all-new exterior design. So while the interior of this all-new Nautilus is going to be completely unrecognizable when we get to it, the exterior does have a lot of those nice familiar Lincoln elements. I think they've really done a great job of kind of making a brand identity, and they haven't messed with success too much. That being said, they have certainly given it a fresh look with the latest interpretation of their grille. So as you can see, this Lincoln grille is going to be a little bit larger. We also have these nice details going through, so you have the little silver pieces that kind of waterfall down, nice silver accent that's going to go along the lower part of the fascia as well. And overall, I think it just looks very handsome and sophisticated. Now, adding to that modern look are these headlights. You're going to have projector LED headlights across the entire lineup. Really nice look to these. You actually get even a little bit more elevated design if you choose that top and black label. But as long as you have at least this reserve trim level, you're going to get one of the cool elements, which is the fact that our daytime running light goes through here, into the grille, all the way across here, into a illuminated Lincoln logo right there in the front. Gives it a really cool look at night. We also have a little bit of blue accenting because this specific model is the hybrid, as I mentioned earlier. Now, as we move around to the rear design, just like the front, it has a very clean, classy, handsome looking design with, of course, the latest Lincoln elements.
Yeah, I really love the way this vehicle looks here in person. Let's break down some of those elements of the rear design. First of all, we do have a spoiler up top. We have a rear wiper integrated underneath of the spoiler, and then you're noticing these new full-length LED taillights. And I love the overall shape of these, and Drew's inside so we can see if all the elements are LED in this taillight cluster. So we have an LED brake light, LED reverse light down here, and we also have a dynamic turn signal indicator. So I really love all of the lighting elements on this new Nautilus model. It's all LED. I also want to point out that you have Lincoln branding down here, but really from most angles you can't even see the Lincoln branding, which I think is a very cool design touch, and you can even get it lighted if you prefer. Now, down here at the bottom, all of this is mostly body color. We do have some faux exposed exhaust outlets here on the outside edges, and as far as your tow rating is concerned, it comes in at 1,750 pounds when equipped with the tow package.
Now, moving on to our wheels, you're going to have several options ranging from 19 to 22-inch alloy wheels. This Reserve is going to come with 21-inch alloy wheels, and I really like the look of these. We have an optional design which includes a lot of this nice blacked out elements with a little bit of bright work. I think it matches incredibly well with the overall blacked out scheme on today's example. Now, as we move above, you have this interesting silver accent that kind of runs down the entire front door. Again, blue Nautilus branding through there. And in terms of our mirrors, they are going to be fully loaded with all the features. So you have heating, blind spot monitoring, power folding, and auto dimming. Now, one little fun fact I want to mention, because there's not really a good place to mention this normally in our reviews, is the fact that this is built in China. So that's kind of a new thing for the Lincoln brand. It makes it one of very few vehicles that are sold in the US that are actually assembled in China.
Now for this all-new Nautilus, the overall vehicle length comes in at 193.2 inches long, which is a little bit shorter than something like a BMW X5. And overall, I really love the way the side of this vehicle looks. Mainly because we have the integrated door handles here in the lower window trim. I really like how sleek that makes the overall side design. I also want to point out that you get a standard two-tone roof on Reserve and above. So we do actually have a two-tone roof on this model. You just can't see it because it's a black on black combination. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, I am very happy to tell you that Lincoln is including all 4 active safety features as standard equipment on this Nautilus model. Additionally, you're going to get Blue Cruise as standard. You're going to get a 90-day trial on both the Reserve and Premier trim levels. If you choose the Black label, you actually extend that out to a 4-year trial period. But guys, let's not delay our interior discussion. There is so much to show you inside. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the interior. But first, of course, we'll take a quick look at the key fob. This is your typical Ford and Lincoln key fob. Got that same kind of design. You do have remote start built into the fob itself, and you also have digital keys so you can use your phone to get inside the vehicle. Now, this is kind of interesting, this whole area, because like Mason was mentioning, seamlessly integrated in is actually your door handle. So I think we first saw this in the Continental while that was still around, and you can just reach behind there, pinch that, and that's what will unlock the door and open it up. By the way, this little slot over here, this is actually your keyhole. If your fob were to ever die, you could manually get in over there. But go ahead and take a look inside the cabin. There's a lot to talk about. Some big technology, of course, literally, to discuss. But before we get into all those individual details, as always, let's start off by talking about interior material and color choices. So on our Premier model, that's going to come with leatherette seats as standard equipment. But once you get to the Reserve level, that's where you're going to get real leather. That, of course, is what we have. And as you can see, very nice looking seat. We have a lot of perforation, stitching designs in that signature Lincoln look. In terms of color options, you do have several different things. And if you choose that top end black label, that's going to get you those special themes that you're familiar with in their other models. Now, as far as the adjustments, you're going to have a lot of adjustments as standard, but if you want the most adjustments, make sure you choose the perfect position seats, because those are going to have 24 ways of power adjustment and massage on board. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that I'm fully inside, I think the first place I want to start off with is just the overall cabin materials. So Lincoln did a lot of work to elevate this experience to look and feel very nice. So as you can see, we're going to have the leather trim across the top part of this armrest. We're going to have leather across the top part of the door trim as well. And I'm happy to report that we have a soft material down here. We even have a leatherette up here on the very tip top, which is basically impossible to reach. Down in the center, you're going to have a thin piece of wood trim, more leatherette, and a color contrasting design. As we come down to the center section, you have kind of these little handlebars, which are cool. A lot of cool design elements, a piece of wood right there. And overall, everything in here feels really nice and solid, including our large metal push button start. So let's fire it up. So there it is, guys. The gigantic digital display that I'm sure you wanted to check out has fired up. This thing is absolutely massive, and I think it's a good place to start. We don't need to beat around the bush here. Let's go ahead and just talk about this. Lincoln Digital Experience is what they call it. And it is made up of 48 inches. That's right, 48 inches of screen real estate that goes entirely from pillar to pillar. And it's very, very impressive, I have to say, here in person. The quality on board really looks fantastic. And of course, you're going to be able to reconfigure a lot of these different sections. So let's talk a little bit about this. We'll start off over here on this side. This is going to be kind of the driver's cockpit area. And this section of the display is going to be basically your gauge cluster and also a head-up display. So it's kind of positioned up here, so it takes the place of both of those things. Again, very clear, clean and classy look, as typical with Lincoln. It's very understated. And then it kind of just seamlessly bleeds over here into your built-in Google Maps, so you can see where you're traveling up there at the top, as well as your gears and things like that. That's going to be the first 24 inches of it. Now, when we shift over here on the passenger side, the second 24 inches, this is going to be obviously focused more on things that a passenger might want to see. And you can reconfigure all these things inside of the display. So when I press that button, this is going to bring me to this kind of menu. And what you can do is take those three sections up there at the top. They correspond with things right here. So say I want to do tire pressure for some reason. I'll drag that up here and it will replace the clock. So now, as you can see, I'll have a display always showing me tire pressure. We also have things like weather, the clock, etc. So a lot of cool things that you can switch between up there at the top to just kind of configure this to be whatever is the best digital experience for you. Another thing I also like, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, is you can just press calm, and that just kind of fades that into a nice dark black display. Now, we'll talk about this display a little more later on. This is the one you actually engage with. Obviously, these are not touchscreens. There's no way that you could possibly reach up here and do that while driving. Okay, let's shift our attention back over here to the steering wheel. One of the cool things I think about this interior design is that it blends futuristic and also some retro elements. This is a steering wheel design that kind of harkens back to Lincolns of old, and it's a really cool squared off kind of design. Two-tone finish, as you can see, with nice stitching details, including over our airbag cover. These buttons here on the steering wheel are going to be touch capacitive. So as you hover over top of these buttons, you'll see that up on the display in front of the driver, you'll be able to tell what these buttons do. Same goes for this side as well. And that just keeps you from having to take your eyes off the road. You do have the sensor here. That's for the Blue Cruise system we were mentioning earlier. And the wheel itself is going to be power tilt and telescoping and heated as well. Now, let's turn over here to our center console and take a look at interior storage. First of all, let's open this up. You're going to see it loaded down with donuts because this is a car confections video after all. We like to test out how many donuts fit into the center console. And the answer today is going to be 11. So it just slightly misses that dozen donut mark, but that's still very good for a vehicle in this segment. When I close that up, we have a tray here. We can slide this back. It's going to show us a little bit more storage, a couple USB ports, 2 cup holders, and a nice wireless phone charging pad right there. And then wrapping up our interior space for the front of the cabin, we also have this nice size center pass-through. Now, as we come back up here, just like other Lincoln products, we have their cool piano key shifter design. So obviously you would just press down on D for drive. There's not any paddle shifters on the steering wheel. When we head into reverse, you're going to see the 360-degree camera system pop up. So that's going to be up there in that part of the display, nice and large, as you can see, good and vivid. And then you can come down here, and this is where you actually can change the angles or zoom in on certain sections and stuff like that. You do also have their automatic parallel and perpendicular parking technology, and then you can just press the P to park. Now, below the shifter, you have this panel of buttons, and right in the center of that, you have this cool glass control. This is for your volume knob for your 3 different audio systems that you can get. So we have the standard 10-speaker sound system. However, you can, of course, upgrade to a Revel audio system, and then the top-end model comes with the Revel Ultima sound system. That has 28 speakers. But let's go ahead and sample this 10-speaker setup. overall sound quality is not bad, but of course, if you want, the really, really luxurious sound experience, go for the Revel. Those are some of the best audio systems on the market. Okay, so now we're returned back here to our 11.1 inch display. So again, this is where the driver and passenger can kind of interact directly and control those other displays as well as other things inside of the software. So I'll go back to the home screen real fast. This is going to be a Android Automotive based infotainment system. So I think that's important to note versus some of the previous Lincoln products with the kind of traditional sync system. This is going to be an Android Automotive based system. And as such, that means you have built-in Google apps. So you can see that Google Maps is going to be built in, Google Assistant, and Play Store natively into the system. But you can still also use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Both of those do run wirelessly. You even have things like YouTube, by the way, so you can watch car confections videos while parked. But let's take a look at the Android Auto real fast. As you can see, very easy to engage with this in the typical way that you would expect. Now, climate is also built in to this bar down here at the bottom. So you adjust your controls very easily right there. This is also where you turn on and off your heated steering wheel. But the interesting thing about this model is that you actually don't have physical controls for your vents. So as you can see, kind of in the way that Tesla did first, you can point your vents using this touchscreen, and you'll see them move when you actually look at the vent itself. And those are your controls for your heated and ventilated seats, as I was talking about earlier, and they are standard, by the way. Up top here, we have an auto-dimming mirror. And then we actually don't have a sunroof on today's example. A panoramic one is going to be available on the Reserve and Standard on the Black Label.
But let's check out this all-new rear seat area. Now, it's not quite as impressive as the front, but what I'm impressed by is the overall space. There is a ton of space in this Nautilus. 43.1 inches of legroom, about 40 inches of headroom. Holy moly, guys, that really demolishes most of the competition when it comes to space. It's bigger than BMW X5. It's bigger than Lexus RX by a significant margin. It just feels very open and spacious in this cabin in the rear. So very, very happy to see that. I'm 5'9" for reference. This is adjusted Drew, who's 5'8", and here at Car Confections, we want to give you those knee measures so you can see how much extra knee space you're going to have. And my oh my, 11 inches of additional knee space. That is awesome. Also, I can slide my feet up underneath of the seat, and I can also recline this seat a pretty good amount. So I am quite comfortable, and also these seats are very comfortable. Now, here in the center, we don't have our own climate controls or anything like that. You could get that on higher end models, but we do have vents. And then we're also going to have USB ports, 2 of them integrated into each seat back. So there's 4 total USB ports in the rear of this Nautilus. Heated rear seats are available. We do not have them on this model. 2 cup holders inside of here. You can also flip this area open. A little bit of storage. It's nicely felt lined as well. Then if you look at the door trim is going to be mostly a leatherette on the upper part, leatherette through the center, nice speaker grill through the middle, and then we also have some bottle storage down in the very bottom. And let's check out the cargo area. Now, of course, we do have a power tailgate. You just press the button right there under the lid. And then as far as this area is concerned, let's talk about it, because I'm very impressed, especially when you compare to something like a Lexus RX. There is so much more space back here. 36 cubic feet behind the second row of seats. If I reach over and electronically fold these seats down, guess you have to hold the button just a little bit, we're going to have 71 cubic feet of cargo capacity. As a matter of fact, if you're comparing it to the RX, behind the second row is about what the maximum is for the Lexus RX. So huge space benefits if you're talking about this Nautilus compared to that model. Now, I do want to just go ahead and get a few cargo measurements. So from the back of the driver's seat, with the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", let's see how our overall length. 77 inches of cargo length. Not really sure why all the carpeting is matted up like that, but let's get behind the second row. We're sitting at about 37 inches of length. And then as far as the overall width, a very solid 41 inches wide. Now, of course, I like that you have the electronic buttons to fold the second row. Then up underneath of the floor, you also have a spare tire. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of this all-new Lincoln Nautilus. We are certainly very excited to show you what this is about when it comes to the powertrain, as well as talk about quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading so we can see how quiet this luxury SUV is. But first, we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, and that was 60 miles per hour. We were going up a hill, to be fair, as well, so not too shabby. Now, if you remember at the beginning at the spec dump, we discussed that you do have a standard turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, and you also have an available hybrid, and we do have the hybrid system today. And the hybrid system is actually the one that has more power. So basically you've got that standard 2-liter 4-cylinder, and then the hybrid is just kind of added on top of that to make the hybrid system function. 310 horsepower is what you have as a total system output. So that's pretty strong for a hybrid system. And I think you can really feel that as you take off. You immediately get that surge of electric torque, of course, like you do in other hybrid models. And it stays pretty strong as you accelerate.
Yeah, for sure. And it's worth noting that that is quite a bit more power than what you're going to find on the standard hybrid version of the Lexus RX. The RX 350h is going to be significantly less powerful than this. So if you're wanting a powerful hybrid, this is going to give you that pretty powerful setup as standard. Now, Lexus does, of course, have the 500h model that gives you the performance hybrid, which is a little faster than this, but I think this is a good in-between ground between the 350h Lexus and the 500h. Now, as far as the standard setup, that's just going to be a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. That's going to be making 250 horsepower, and then as far as the torque, it's 275 pound-feet of torque.
Kind of a rolling acceleration there. Yeah, no, I'm pretty impressed. I actually thought this would, feel slower and perhaps be, feel maybe overwhelmed by the weight of this vehicle, but it really doesn't. It definitely handles this just fine. Let's talk about the other aspect of the powertrain. As I accelerated, you may have noticed that you didn't hear any shifts. That's because the hybrid version comes with a continuously variable transmission. This eCVT setup here does function quite well. It's good and responsive when you put your foot down. You don't wait long at all to get that surge of power. And I think it's a good partner with this powertrain.
Yeah. Now, if you choose a traditional gas setup, you will instead have an 8-speed automatic. Now, all-wheel drive is standard regardless of what powertrain setup you choose, and that does mean that you're going to have 2 different fuel economies. So the standard non-hybridized version is coming in at 24 miles a gallon combined. If you choose the hybrid, you actually get 30 miles per gallon combined. So 6 mpg improvement for choosing the hybrid, in addition to it being more powerful. And the hybrid only costs around $1,500. So personally, I think I would definitely choose the hybrid because the fuel savings will kind of offset that price difference, and you're also getting more power.
Now, when you're accelerating at a more normal pace, you saw me take off there under battery power, and then it hands off to the engine, of course. And the overall transition is quite smooth. You can't really feel it or anything. The other thing I like about it is that through a combination of sound insulation and just the overall tuning of the engine, it's pretty quiet. It's not sounding real strained as we accelerate. They've done a good job of kind of just isolating it out. It's just kind of a low grumble in the background, even under hard acceleration. So I went into the Excite drive mode. That's kind of the Lincoln equivalent of a sport mode, and so that was the acceleration there. I did notice that we kind of went through some simulated gear changes when you get into that mode versus the standard mode. But overall, let's just go in and talk about this is a Lincoln after all. And one of the things I really like that they've been doing over the recent years is just kind of buckling down on their core identity. Everyone expects a Lincoln to be very, very luxurious and luxury minded, and that is definitely the case with this Nautilus. Even when you go into the excite mode, it's not going to be too exciting to drive behind the wheel. The thing that will excite you though is just how comfortable you are. I mean, it's just extremely comfortable inside of this cabin. Feel like you're kind of just floating down the road. We do have an adaptive suspension on board, so depending on the drive mode, it does actually change the ride quality a little bit. The steering also changes, and it's tremendous.
It is. It's pretty awesome. I have to agree with Drew. I think that you buy a Lincoln wanting that comfort, and I'm so happy that when you sit in here, I mean, the moment your seat hits the seat bottom, you realize how comfortable you're going to be, and then the suspension is just a perfect mate to that. And, you know, here on the Reserve and Black Label trim levels, you do have that adaptive suspension, which I imagine helps your ride quality even more. Now, one of those other things that contributes to the overall very luxury experience would be the amount of noise entering into the cabin. So let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going 55 miles an hour, and we can see how this luxury SUV ranks. Fan speed's on 1. We've settled at 57.1 decibels as our official Car Confections sound level reading. And we don't have to sit here and guess how that compares to the competition. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings. And on our website, we posted all of this vehicle's rivals, including the very own Lexus RX 350. And that does place it very similar to the RX 350H that I was talking about, which would be this vehicle's kind of direct competitor. It's a little quieter, actually, but as far as the overall segment, it is going to be louder than stuff like BMW X5, Genesis GV80. Those types of vehicles are going to slot in a little quieter than this. And now it's time to do our airball and slam dunk. Drew, kick us off with the slam dunk.
I think you know what this probably is going to be. Got to be the technology on board and this 48-inch display specifically. It's not just because it's big, but actually messing with it and going through this review, it works well. It's not just a gimmick. You can actually get used to seeing, believe it or not, seeing this much all in one glance really is kind of useful and not really distracting either. So I do like how they implemented everything. It seems to work well, be pretty user intuitive, not too confusing or anything like that. And it's something that you're not going to get from the rivals. You know that you're definitely not going to get this for any of the competition.
Yeah. As far as the airball is concerned, we would certainly wish on a Reserve trim level to have a standard moonroof. You know, that is what it is. That's how they've chose to configure the trim levels, but it would certainly be nice to have a moonroof on a luxury vehicle like this as standard equipment. And as far as last things to mention, your warranty is going to come in. You're at a 4-year 50,000 mile basic, 6-year 70,000 mile powertrain, and you do also get 4 years and 50,000 miles of complimentary maintenance if you choose a Black Label. And let's go ahead and talk about pricing for this Nautilus. Now, we're going to start at around $50,000 for the Premier model. Reserve starts at $54,750 and Black Label $74,000. This particular model has, you know, the Reserve package. We also have the optional hybrid plus $1,395 destination. We're sitting at $58,145, which I think is a pretty attractive price point. And if you're looking to buy a Lincoln Nautilus or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, why you do that is because we have a tool on our website that connects you with local dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. Now let's talk about our potential resale value and reliability to make sure you are making a smart purchase. First up, resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this vehicle's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years, this vehicle would be worth 38.07% of its original price and 15.6% after 10 years.
We've also done the same for potential reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This combines data from trusted automotive sources throughout. Based on this ranking, Lincoln is rated below average in relation to other vehicle makes.
If you'd like to check out all of our data about reliability and resale values, as well as learn about our methodology, make sure to head to carconfections.com/resale and /reliability. Buying a car is a big decision, and this is a great place to compare the different vehicle makes that you may be cross-shopping between. And guys, that's going to be it for this very in-depth and one of the first reviews of this all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help give us access to vehicles like this where we can come out and review one of the first Nautilus models that has arrived on dealership lots. So thank you so much for your continued support if you're a fan and subscriber. And if you're not already, we would love to welcome you into our Car Confections family. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.